but it's not about saturating services or saturating community groups. It's about creating more kind of stronger, connected, resilient communities. I'll be working with independent evaluators at a couple of local universities to put a real cost value at the end of this project and actually measuring that impact of the social prescribing. And there's some great examples in the UK that aren't with time credits, but looking at prescribing boilers for people, where they found in Manchester the number of people who were in hospital who were ill, and the cost of their healthcare was £500 a night. Actually, they found the common denominator was they didn't have boilers at home. So they actually spent the money on buying boilers for people, and within 2 months, they'd actually earned their money back in terms of that. So it's looking at how we can shape the NHS to spend their money more on prevention. National Health Service. So it's looking at spending. That's okay. Because you have to pay for your healthcare. It's different. What I also hope to learn from my project is look really at earn and spend tools and kind of look at what earn and spend looks like for older people and how to overcome stigmas such as not wanting to be seen for rewarded for volunteering, because some people don't want to accept time credits for the work that they're doing. I'm going to be launching a new time credit note next week, so I'll be able to map older people's spend as well. So these are our notes that we currently have, but I'm going to be having a new note which we'll basically be able to see, we'll be able to collect back from the spend partners and see where older people are spending them or whether they're gifting them to younger people. Last week I held an event with Edgar Khan, and it was great because we had 120 people who had disabilities and were genuinely isolated. They weren't connected to any community groups, and the doctors had said that they were the repeat people who were coming back 3 or 4 times a week just to see them because they wanted company. So they're not connected to community groups. They've never sat through a formal presentation before. And Monday, I rang every single one of them to see if they wanted to come to the theatre with me. And out of that 120, 98 of them said they would be interested, but they had other commitments. And 38 came. Only 4 of them had ever been to the theatre before. And what was great was they all got up to leave halfway through because it hadn't occurred to me to explain that there were 2 parts to a play. So there's lessons to be learnt there. And just thinking about spend opportunities. The play we went to see was The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night Time. Has anyone heard of that? It's a great book about autism. And I had a moment where I was cringing because it was a bit like watching Game of Thrones with your parents, because there was rave music, everyone's hearing aids were shrieking, there was lots of talk about sex, there was lots of swearing, and I was like, oh my goodness, what have I done? Because everybody was 70 plus, but they loved it, and that was really great because they chose to come to see it. So it's not about just choosing traditional tea dances and kind of projecting what spend looks like for older people. So I'm now putting together a toolkit for working with older people, which I'm happy to share. Simple things like having a landline rather than a mobile. People weren't ringing me initially because I have a mobile phone because I'm not office-based very often. Things like our swanky business cards, which we have at Spice with corporate branding, they don't work with older people, they can't read them. So I now have a stamp, and I stamp it on a bigger piece of paper for everyone. And most of my stuff isn't relevant to them. They don't really want to Skype me. So it's just little lessons to sort of learn like that. But it's also doing things by post and not doing last-minute things by email, and being ready to be taught by an 88-year-old how to link my camera to the internet and how to have my Twitter account fixed by him as well. I think that these lessons learned should be shared, and I think there's room for everyone to kind of share skills that are working with older people. And it's not just about creating spend opportunities for older people or specifically dementia-friendly. It's about making sure that older people are just integrated into everything we're doing. So if we're putting on an activity, or the way we do our marketing and advertising just needs to be older people-friendly as well in a non-patronising way. And so then it's supported but not in isolation. So in a minute, I'm going to show you my 90-second video, which goes live next week. The video is aimed to be shared on social media, more around challenging the perceptions of older people to younger audience. And then each month, I'm going to be releasing a 5-minute video of each person's story. So there's a lady doing yoga, Diane, and she spent 15 years housebound before using time credits, and she's overcome her social isolation. And Fred and Angela, the couple in here, they also run an amazing refugee breakfast club 5 days a week on a voluntary basis with time credits. So what I want the campaign to do is to make people think about what they want to do with their time, and we're getting people to nominate photos of themselves saying hashtag it's our time, and it's just thinking about what they want to do now it is their time, whether it's to dance, sing, see friends, whatever, but to make people think what they want to do with their time, because as Edgar says, we all wake up with 24 hours in our pocket. So you've got to think about it. This is the Millennium Centre. This is an event that I held recently, which was just part of my project. I've got to do some high-profile social action events where it's a new audience to time credits. So I held an open mic event, and this is great. We had lots of people over the age of 50 sharing their skills with us. I've moved on from doing post-it notes of groups saying things. Now I'm looking at actually, I'll show you the next picture, but this is getting people to celebrate what's great about getting old, feeling more comfortable in your skin, less rushed. You're allowed to get away with saying more outrageous things. But instead of doing post-it notes now, people are much more comfortable to do it on a aging well tree. So I'm collecting some great tips from people on how to age well and positive aging. And it's much nicer for them to do that in a non-workshop experience, just having a cup of tea, writing them on notes. This is a lady here who's 100, and she's earning time credits at the moment. She's on a knitting frenzy. She's brilliant. And actually, this lady here on this side, she's 52, and she, on my first week of work, told me she felt guilty for feeling old and being a drain on the NHS, and she didn't like watching the news. And I was really surprised by that, but actually she's volunteering with us now, and she's doing some amazing things. This chap here, he was a bit of a difficult nut to crack. He's been socially prescribed time credits. Everything I asked him he wanted to do, no, I can't, no, I can't, no, I can't. And eventually we got him on a train for the first time. Gwilly Railway are a hybrid partner of ours, so they provide a spend opportunity, but they also pay their volunteers in time credits. So the time credits that they take in, they pay their volunteers to do kind of extra things on top for more tricky roles as well. So he'd never been on a train, and since he's come down his journey, he's now done Midas bus training. So he's actually driving a community bus, taking people to events, and he's great. This is a workshop we did about paying people in time credits to talk about tips for living well with dementia. So just different tips that people are using on a day-to-day basis, and so being paid in time credits to actually share that information. This group of people here, they're being paid in time credits to support other groups. They're doing pensioners parkour. It's like parkour, so they're doing that. It's a really active sport. So these two chaps here, they're doing pensioners parkour. So it's more to raise awareness around knocks and falls. So although they're not actually doing the full parkour training, it's a slightly trendier way of actually discussing the importance of hazards of trips and falls and armchair yoga and things. And so they've saved their time credits up, and they're all going to go on a holiday to Blackpool Tower together. And they meet in a youth club now rather than where they were meeting, because they actually wanted to have that interaction with younger people. And so these girls here, they earn their time credits by baking cakes, making cups of tea, and then they pay for dance lessons with the older group, which is lovely. Just different examples of things that people are doing. This is my son's donkey, and he does therapy work with the donkey, taking it into shelter care schemes. So he's been earning time credits, and then he's been donating them to certain groups as well. This chap here in the wheelchair, who's an amputee, he now gets paid in time credits to perform. He's a musician. He hadn't performed for about 30 years, and after our open mic event, he said he felt like he was a musician now rather than a disabled person, because most venues that he used to play music in were pubs that weren't disability friendly, and he wants to be a ballet dancer. And this chap here, when he grows up, wants to start his second childhood. And so, it's just about finding ways that engage people that aren't just your traditional tea clubs. Some people do just want to get to have a coffee and a chat. And these guys, they're great. They every Saturday, they support the local police in my hometown, and they support people who are drunk and give them water and things, and they're up late. And they love it because they were feeling isolated as veterans. and it's their chance to get together on a Saturday night, and they've got tattoos that say Boyo down their arm, and yeah, they're brilliant, and they're in the video as well. So yeah, I'll see if I can share my video. My video.
The video?
So I've got a short video here. It's about a minute and a half long.
Oh. It's not here anymore. Where? Who put it? Well, we don't have the video. No.
Shall I go back into my email?
Yeah, if you like.
Is there time?
Yes, if you like.
Okay.
It disappeared.
That's okay. Does anyone?
Or it should be in the history, maybe. No? You know? No,
Do you want to ask me questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Fire away.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do the questions and answers, yeah.
Yeah.
Sí, ¿dónde está?
Can you tell something about the amount of people that you reached with SPICE? Because you have 48 people working for SPICE.
I knew you were going to ask me that
Makes
question.
you, I think, the largest community currency in the social field.
Yeah. I was amazed actually listening to Sarah earlier, because hers is live. So I think Sarah's got a much better track on her website than we have. We only know on a quarterly basis. And I know that in my project, I've got to get 25,000 hours of earn opportunities of older people in this year, which is a pretty high target, to be honest. We've got, I think it's about 58,000 individuals signed up. I can't tell you how many organisations, but I will know Monday, because our next batch of findings comes out on Monday. So I'm sorry I haven't got that to my fingertips. Everywhere. My project is all of Wales, but we cover all of the UK. Yeah.
How many projects are outside Wales?
I think there's about 10 members of staff in London. We've got a few in Manchester and some in Norfolk, so they're very localised projects. And then there's a very strong focus in South West Wales, and then Cardiff, which one is a very affluent area and one is a very rural area with different challenges. And then my project is all of Wales, which is a very different locality.
Do you like the new director?
Pardon?
Do you like the new director?
Ian's lovely. I've met him twice. To be fair, he's got stuck straight in. I think following Becky's going to be a hard challenge, but he's doing really well. Yeah, I like him.
Because I have white hair and I walk with a stick, people often take me for being more elderly than I actually am.
I was told you can't do that because you're getting too old.
I did feel quite worthless.
I felt redundant. I was on the scrap heap.
I was getting lazy. I didn't want to do anything.
I was afraid to go out. I was really depressed.
People viewed me as an elderly person who should be sat at home watching telly, knitting. I'm sorry, but daytime TV is too boring for me. I'd rather be out there doing something in the community.
Old is only a number. I feel a youngster.
I'm not on the scrap heap.
I am not too old.
People say that I'm mad because I do what I do.
I may be retired, but I certainly don't feel old.
I'm not a drain on the NHS.
I am not too old for anything. Give me a challenge and I'll take it up.
I can run a half marathon, ride a velocipede.